Nestled at the intersection of Europe and Asia, Georgia is a country of unparalleled beauty. Tbilisi, its capital, is one of the safest cities in the world, and for tourists, it's comparatively affordable. But it comes with its costs, and a big one right now is political uncertainty, not to mention the cost of flights. Yet, Georgia's a treasure, and if you can go, you should, right?
Hi, I'm Taylor, and in this vlog we're exploring the historical and ancient city of Tbilisi, Georgia.
So you can determine whether it's personally and honestly financially worth it to you to visit, so
let's go.
Why Georgia? Firstly, Georgia is a tourist destination, just not for Americans. For people who live in Armenia and Russia and just in the region.
it's a beautiful city, it's an ancient city, and one I've wanted to visit for a long time. And I'm muting myself here because I forgot to explain that I'm in Armenia. You can see why in my last vlog. And I'm taking a car to Georgia.
I'm really excited. Maybe we can even see the driver. Actually, it might be that white car. This is my first time taking a private car anywhere, and it was around $100, just cost of living is different.
So my driver came and met me at the hotel and brought my suitcases down, and automatically he was just a really friendly person. I don't know, I just got a really good feeling from this person, and he did not disappoint. Quality driver. According to Google Maps, this will be a 5-hour drive, and one reason I chose to do a private car instead of an airplane is just because it is cheaper, surprisingly, to hire a private driver than it is to fly between these two cities. And, I'm also including transport to airports in both places. And another reason is just because I really want to see everything. This is a beautiful region with the mountains and just different landscapes to probably what you're used to if you're not from this part of the world. So I'm having a good time.
So we took a quick rest stop, an hour and a half in, so this is nice. Look at Armenia. Love the vibe.
You might not love Armenian decadence, but please appreciate it because that was the interior of a women's restroom at a rest stop. And the drive was just so beautiful, smooth, and unremarkable until this happened.
We encountered construction on the road, and we just kind of sat here for 5 minutes.
Until the driver decides to get out and, probably see what's going on. So now, 3 people got out of their cars, and, 2 of them took this as an opportunity for a smoke break, which is fair. I don't smoke. You shouldn't either. So we've been here for this many minutes, and then this officer of the law shows up, which doesn't really mean anything because I think he's also just taking a smoke break.
So our car is the first one here, and a lot of cars have piled up, and there's also a bus right there, the orange thing, that's a bus, and I
can't imagine if I were on a bus. Oh, goodness. Can you believe it's been this many minutes and no one has lost their temper? I'm impressed that everyone's so calm and helpful, but I'm also just how do you have permission to do this in the middle of the day? Look how many people are just waiting for you. How could you just be calmly operating that crane? I couldn't. I don't have the self-confidence to just sit there and be well, it's gotta get done. But seriously, all the people you see there by the crane, they're being so helpful directing the crane operator. It takes a village, as they say, and it took a village. It did take that village there. So a full hour and 27 minutes later, we finally got going. And as frustrating as that was for me, I also realized that there were so many cars affected by this, some so far back that they had no idea what the holdup was. And I imagine that would be triply frustrating. Anyway, the rest of the drive was smooth. We just had to go through 2 border crossings. So one to exit Armenia, then one to enter Georgia, and got to the hotel without other incident.
So I'm at the hotel, it's early evening, and I really want to go out. I can't even see outside my window because I have an interior room, which I decided I do not like. And I'm going to proceed with caution because, as I mentioned before, there are protests. So why protests? Why now? Georgia has a very long history of this sort of unrest. It has a lot to do with Russia, and I could start the story 10 years ago, 20 years ago. But most recently, it was because a controversial bill was passed into law.
And this law also has precedent in Russia, and it, for all intents and purposes, just symbolizes the consolidation of authoritarian power in the country, which is controversial. And more recently, there were contestant elections. There is a pro-Western party who's trying to move closer to the EU, and a pro-Russia party that has power right now. And so the protests are kind of trying to determine the political future of Georgia.
It is around 7 p.m. now, and as you can see, not much is happening, but
most action happens later in the evening, and I won't be here for that, but I spotted some camera people, so I hope they and everyone else who is peacefully on the streets exercising their right to speak out against corruption and support democracy stay safe.
Доброе утро. А у меня черный свитер, черная сумка. Georgian Politics.
This city just has so much in easy walking distance. And I started walking in Freedom Square, which is just where the hotel is. And to cross the street, I just went down through these tunnels, which is great. There are shops there, and now you don't have to wait for traffic to cross the street, which is awesome.
And I didn't really have a goal in mind. Yeah, sure, I mapped things out, but I was just gonna wander. I was really just gonna wander in the old town.
So it's clear that there is a lot of influence, different cultural influences, and this could have to do with the history of Georgia, which was its own kingdom for a period, but was also dominated by Turkish and Persian rule. It came under the Russian Empire, was independent, and then under the Soviet Union, and then independent again.
Which can probably explain why some of these buildings look really Georgian and others really je ne sais quoi. Tbilisi is an international city, so influences could have come from anywhere. Either way, it's very European, kind of medieval in places, and all around awesome to see. Behold, the Bridge of Peace.
So as you can see, this is a footbridge. It's connecting the old part of the city to the Reich Park behind me.
It is 150 meters long, and it just makes life easier for all the pedestrians in the city.
Solo travel reality. Oh, hello. There are a lot of stray dogs here. They're tagged, so I don't know what that means. Whatever. Anyway, solo travel reality is you could do all the things and be very happy, and then realize it's only 2 p.m. and you have the rest of the day and the trip to yourself.
And that can make me, lonely, bored. But, it's also an opportunity to really just explore the things you enjoy. However, it can also make you appreciate the company of others. Often, I've scheduled activities and realized, hey, this would be a lot more fun with people. And it's just kind of a weird thing to realize that you could be so free and so independent, and it just still doesn't feel like enough. It's so frustrating, but I think this is also just a process of learning what you truly enjoy doing and how you can spend your time well by yourself, and think about how you want to spend your time well with others when you return from your trip. So I need to figure out the rest of my day is also what I'm trying to say.
So it was actually pretty cold, so I went back to the hotel. But now I'm ready again for adventures to the Museum of Fine Arts, which has 3 floors and glass stairs, which can make your legs wobble a little bit, but there's also an elevator. So the museum is located along the main street. It's open 6 days a week, and tickets are only $4.50, which means it is worth it. Some of the styles you may recognize, like Impressionism, but don't be fooled because these are Georgian artists, Georgian artistes. So it is dead silent in these galleries, and there might be more employees than visitors.
Anyway, the art is interesting. So they have a lot of famous Georgian artists represented here, so you see a lot of the same style repeated. And this style is just so whimsical and creepy and fantastical. It kind of makes me uncomfortable, but it's also interesting because I haven't really seen this style of art so much before. Or at least so much of this style all in one place.
Good morning.
So yesterday evening, I was really feeling the weight of solitude, just that normal stress of loneliness, and I thought, hey, I should just go out and take a walk. And during my walk, I walked through the protests, which I knew I would. I knew where they were taking place. I just didn't realize how massive they were. And I just want to show you these videos because, wow, these are the protests. And you can see this in the news, but you kind of just see those most violent incidents. And I just want to show you how much more there is to these protests. There are just so many quote-unquote normal people walking around, talking, smoking, eating. It's a communal activity. And that's the thing I want to show you about this, a different angle to view these protests. The political part is so important, and I'm just not the best person to speak about that, but I wanted to show you through my one-person view what this actually looks like. Anyway, the reason I bring it up is just because I wanted to be in the company of people, and wow, did I find that yesterday evening.
Come walk with me to the Mother of Georgia statue. There are a lot of stairs. Almost there. What a view!
And guys, you can see everything from up here. It is just stunning. And it's so cool to see the views, but I have to run and go to my tour.
And now, because I ascended all of these stairs, it's a great time to remind you to drink water and stay hydrated, because your health is important, so be healthy, drink water, make good choices.
This is the biggest wine bridge in the land of alcoholics, and throughout the day, we're gonna have few stops.
So my tour today is a wine tour to the Kakheti region, which is just 80 minutes east of Tbilisi. Many archaeologists believe that Georgia is the birthplace of wine, and Kakheti is Georgia's biggest wine-growing region, So
the first one is a Treveri. It's dry, white, crisp, and doesn't have a strong flavor. And my first thought is this is just kind of big for tasting. So the second one is a Tbilisi, which is a white, semi-sweet.
Wow, that's really sweet. That's like a dessert wine. Way better than the first one. And I just decided we're ranking these.
Also, please drink responsibly or don't drink at all. Never feel pressure to drink, and most importantly, stay hydrated. The third one was the Kismarali, which is red, obviously. And the thing you should know about Georgian wines is that they are either very sweet, however, in Georgia they call them semi-sweet, or dry. And dry really just feels kind of empty to my palate. I think the semi-sweet wines are just softer and fuller, but I guess Georgia is known for their dry wine. If you're a wine aficionado, you can probably figure out the nuances between Georgian wine, French wine, Italian wine, etc. But for me, I just like the taste. And if you're interested in this tour, check out the link in the description. And yeah, we see other stuff too. During the tour, we had a quick lunch stop, and it was mainly just these breaded pastries. Some are filled with meat, others filled with vegetables. I got one that was filled with cheese and one that was filled with mushrooms. By mistake, I said, "Can I get the cheese and mushroom one?" And then I was handed two. So I got two. The first one was filled with rice, mushrooms, and a leafy green. It also had a spice to it, which wasn't really my taste, but it was fine, objectively, overall, I guess. Then I tried the Penavani Khachapuri, which is just a cheese-filled bread. And if you're thinking, hey, this doesn't look like the Khachapuri I know, don't worry, I'll try the more traditional-looking one tomorrow.
It's kind of like having a white pizza, except maybe with like a croissant or some sort of pastry for the bread.
Long story short, if you love bread and cheese, this dish gets 2 thumbs up.
So we are midway through the tour and we just stopped at a monastery. And I'd love to go inside, but I can't because I don't have the proper headwear. You need to have a scarf if you're a woman, so there are rules, whatever.
As much as I'm enjoying the tour, it just kind of solidifies to me that, hey, you are an introvert. And I was like all lonely and blah, blah, blah yesterday. But today I'm like, oh, okay, I was with people for a few hours. I'm good for 2 days. And I mean that seriously. I know introversion and extroversion is like a spectrum. Your experience with solo travel will probably also be affected by how introverted and extroverted you are and your orientation to people. So our last stop on the tour was the city of Sighnaghi, which is known as the City of Love because apparently it's very easy to get married here, but very hard to get divorced. So make good choices. This city is famous for its wall, which was built in the 18th century and is 4 kilometers long. And please note that those are the Caucasus Mountains in the background, not clouds. Very high up though. Wow.
And tomorrow is my last day in Tbilisi, and I'm just like, what do I do?
If you know anything about Georgia, you know that it's famous for bathhouses. And I'm going to disappoint anyone who wants to do the bathhouse that I'm not going to be visiting one. And I thought a lot about this because on the one hand, I love trying new things. But on the other hand, I've been to bathhouse sorts of situations. And I did it because I wanted to try something new, okay? So I did. And I get it. Georgian bathhouses are Georgian bathhouses. They're not like other bathhouses. They're similar. They are, but they're not exactly the same. And I just really was conflicted. I think when you're traveling, sometimes you just feel this pressure to do the things that everyone says, you must do it, you must do it.
Tomorrow's already my last day. What am I gonna do?
Go to the bathhouse.
Yeah, it's not really my thing.
But you must.
Why?
Because it's an ancient and beloved tradition and it's super popular among tourists.
Just to be honest, I've thought about this like a lot, and decided this time for this trip, I'm good. So yeah, that's my long way of saying I won't be going to the bathhouses tomorrow.
I have done the thing where I do all the highlights for the experience, and that's awesome. For the experience is awesome. I do a lot of things once for the experience, and obviously the argument can be made that, hey, you haven't done a Georgian bathhouse. I know, but how many bathhouses do I have to do before I can just be like, this trip is for you. And I'm showing you things you can do in Georgia just as like, hey, here are some things, okay? And the bathhouses can be awesome. I did look into them. Here are some that I looked into. Can't give recommendations, obviously. And I've done bathhouse stuff before. So just to be clear, I did a bathhouse experience in Iceland. Yes, they have those. And I did a sauna and spa experience in Germany where everyone was naked. And that's fine for the Germans, but I haven't. I'm sorry.
Spend your time how you want to. That's a tip. And just life advice. Spend your time well.
I'm going to go.
Good morning. from the Holy Trinity Cathedral of Tbilisi. And look at this. That's the cathedral behind me.
But just all this space, it's enclosed like it is a compound. Now, it might not be physically completely encircled, but
We came through there, and it's gated, and there are walls, and it's beautiful. It is my final day here in Tbilisi, and honestly, I'm feeling kind of stressed because there's a lot to do in so little time, and usually
when I'm traveling by myself on the third day, I'm like, I've seen a lot. I'm good, ready to go. But I don't feel that way here. There's just so much. So I chose to ride the funicular. And honestly, I didn't know what that word meant, so I looked it up. And apparently, it's a rail system that is operated by cables, and the two cars counterbalance each other. So you go to the top. That's the only real stop. However, there's this midway point where the cars meet. It's this little station area, so hypothetically, you could probably get out of one car into the other, which to me doesn't really make sense. But now that I understand the counterbalancing element, I'm kind of just like, physics is cool.
And you guessed it, the views at the top are stunningly gorgeous, so just look at that. It is so expansive. Best views in the city. There's a whole amusement park back there, but to be honest, I didn't come here for that. I don't even know if it's open. It's December. So I changed my mind and decided to explore the park.
It's just really cold here and windy and dark and gray, so it's a little depressing. But the park looks like it was cool like back in the day, and maybe still cool now in the summer. But right now in December, it's looking a little empty, but still kind of nice to see. So I'm glad I stuck around, honestly.
Okay, so long story short, I messed up big time. So I'll just say I love food, but I'm not a foodie, so
Trying Georgian food wasn't a priority for me, and it's the final night, and I'm like, okay, I have to order real Ajarian Khachapuri, which that's what that is. And so I found a place, and I was going to go to the restaurant. I dressed up nicely, and I was like, I'm dining a one-person dinner, and that would be fine, except I really don't like dining by myself, but I convinced myself I would do it. Like I said, I got dressed up. But then when the time came, I was like, I'm just going to order something. And so I did. I even made an account with this app. I got it delivered, and it comes in a pizza box, which is fine, except on top of the pizza box, there is an egg. The only means I have of cooking it is this tea kettle. So I'm gonna try that.
I really don't know how long to keep this on. You can hear it's on right now, and you're supposed to let it simmer for like 6 or so minutes to get it to the point where the whites are kind of firm, but the yolk is liquidy.
It's just chilling here exactly when I was hungry, and it came so quickly, so I guess it didn't matter in the end. I'm gonna unleash it here because I don't want it to spill if it's not ready. What are we thinking? Sorry, I'm wearing a Band-Aid, but I think I need 2 hands. Ooh! Did I get this right? I could have been more patient. Okay, that's on me. That's on me.
I apologize. Should I just order another one, or is that excessive? It's excessive. Dang it. I think I'm just gonna eat my mistake.
This is actually amazing. I know I'm just kind of like ripping it here, but I actually did eat a lot of it, and it is so good. There are 3 layers of cheese, and the deeper you go, the softer and more tasteful the cheese is, and wow, 5 thumbs up for Ajarian Khachapuri. And this is just takeaway.
And before I go, a few notes on Tbilisi and solo travel. Firstly, Tbilisi is a very safe city. So a lot of times I've traveled in Latin America and the cost of living is low, but the crime rate is high. And that's just not the case in Tbilisi. The crime rate is also low, which makes it a great place, especially if you're a solo traveler.
And a 2-part tip for loneliness. First, try to lean into the things that you love doing. It just really makes the time fly. And 2, try to find activities with other people. So for me, that was the tour, which was a great time, and I learned a lot. And also just going to places like museums. And yeah, sure, mine was empty, but there were so many museums in Tbilisi, so just go to one, or multiple.
And of course, make sure you do your research, especially when you're abroad and especially when it's just you. And also, if you like travel content, I'm actually going to Zurich, Switzerland next, so
Please consider liking and subscribing, and
thanks for joining.